Hello everyone, it's mathematics time, smart time hour. Yes, we are still talking about ordering of fractions. Do you still remember what I said about ordering of fractions? Okay, it is the arrangement of fractions in sizes. Okay, the arrangement of fractions either in ascending order or in descending order, right? Okay, you know the same thing we do with numbers. We put them in sizes, either from the smallest to the biggest or from the biggest to the smallest. We also do this to fractions. Don't forget, we said fractions are part of a whole. Of course, they are also numbers. It's only that they are what? Part of a whole. Yes. And then I said we have rules attached to the arrangement of fractions. Either you want to arrange them in ascending order or in descending order. So what are these rules? We need to remind ourselves before we start today's class. What are these rules? Okay, number one, when the denominator are the same. When the denominators are the same. When the denominators are the same. Can you see this fraction? Yes, this set of fraction, the denominator are what? The same. And the denominator are 7, right? Okay. So, the first rule, as I'm saying again, it says when the denominator are the same way we do with numbers, the biggest fraction, okay, the biggest numerator is the biggest fraction, and the smallest numerator is the smallest fraction. So let's take that together one more time. When the denominator are the same, the biggest numerator is the biggest fraction, and the smallest numerator is the smallest fraction. So if I am to arrange this fraction in ascending order, which means from the smallest to the biggest, which one have to come first? So yes, 2 out of 7, yes, 3 out of 7, that is the next. Okay, then we have 6 out of 7. So this method is called what? Ascending order. Ascending order means from the what? From the smallest to the biggest. Okay, what if I'm going to arrange this fraction in descending order? Which one is going to come first? In descending order, which one is coming first? Oh, you've done it already in your book. Start doing it. I'm still cleaning the board. Okay, so which one is coming first if I'm arranging in descending order? Descending order means what? From the biggest to the smallest. So what is coming first? What is coming first? We have what? 6 out of what? 7. Followed by what? 3 out of 7. Followed by what? 2 out of 7. Oh, so simple. Please put this rule. Okay, you just have to quote it and be careful and remind yourself before you order any fractions. Okay, when the denominator are the same, okay, the biggest numerator is the biggest fraction, and the smallest numerator is the smallest fraction. Okay, all right, let's go to another rule. Okay, one more example before we do that. When you have 10 out of 15, 9 out of 15, 12 out of 15. Okay, let's arrange this fraction in ascending order. What does the rule says? The rule says if the denominator are the same, the biggest numerator is the biggest fraction and the smallest numerator is the smallest fraction, right? So which number is coming first? We have what? If we are arranging now in what? Ascending order from the smallest to the biggest. So we have what first? 9 out of 15, followed by what? 10 out of 15, followed by what? 12 out of 15. Okay, can we do this together also in descending order? Descending order means what? From the biggest to the smallest. So which number is coming first? 12 out of 15, right? 10 out of 15 and what? 9 out of 15. All right, that's so smart of you. Let's do one more example. Okay, are you set? You are going to do this alone. Okay. You pause it, okay, and then you give me your answer first. When you have 35 out of 50, 40 out of 50, and then you have 15 out of 50. So which one is coming first if you are arranging in ascending order? And you can choose to arrange first in descending order, provided you know that ascending order is from what? From the smallest to the biggest, and descending order is what? From the biggest to the smallest. Okay, all right, let's go. I'm doing it in ascending order now. Hope you've done yours already. Okay, so we have 15 out of 50. Okay, whenever the denominator are the same, the biggest fraction, the biggest numerator is the biggest fraction, and the smallest numerator is the smallest fraction. So we have 15 out of 30. Okay, what is the next thing? 35 out of 50. Okay, and then we have 40 out of 60. Let's do this together in descending order. The biggest is what? 40 out of 60, followed by what? 35 out of 60, and then we have what? 15 out of 60. Please, you need to keep this rule in mind. Okay, now let's talk about the second rule. The second rule says when the numerator are the same, when the numerator are the same, can you see this? When the numerator are the same, the biggest denominator is the smallest fraction. Oh, this is funny, but you just need to put this right. Okay, you just need to get it. Okay, the numerator, when they're the same, what is the same here? The numerator 2 2 2. Okay, they are now the same. When the numerator are the same, the biggest denominator is the smallest fraction whenever the numerator are the same. Okay, and that one that looks so small, the smallest denominator becomes the biggest fraction. Yes, I know, the opposite of what we did the other time, right? Okay, so let's arrange this in ascending order from the smallest to the biggest. So which one is the smallest? Yes, still remains 2 out of 20 because it's the one with the biggest denominator, and I said the one with the biggest denominator is the smallest what? Fraction. I hope you took note of this. Okay, and then we have what? 2 out of what? 11, and then the biggest is what? 2 out of 7. Now let's arrange this fraction in ascending order. In ascending order, which one is going to come first? The biggest is what? Yes, the smallest denominator, which is 2 out of 7, followed by what? 2 out of 11, and then we have what? 2 out of 20. Okay, one more example on this. We have 8 out of 33, 8 out of 50, 8 out of 38. Okay, don't forget the rule. The second rule says what? Whenever the numerator are the same, the biggest denominator is the smallest fraction, and the smallest fraction is the what? Biggest, is the one with the biggest denominator. Did I get that? When the numerator are the same, the biggest denominator is the smallest fraction. Okay, and the smallest denominator is the biggest fraction. I think I got that now. Okay, one more time. When the numerator are the same, the biggest denominator, the biggest one, is the smallest fraction, and the smallest denominator is the biggest fraction. Okay, good. So what do we have now? Okay, we have what? We want to arrange it in ascending order. Ascending order means from the what? From the smallest to the biggest. Okay, so we have 8 out of 50. Next we have what? 8 out of 38. And we have what? 8 out of 33. Okay, so let's go ahead and arrange it in descending order. Which one is going to come first? Okay, 8 out of 33. Next is what? 8 out of 38, and then 8 out of 50. Are you sure I've not made mistake with this arrangement? Yes, there is no mistake, because the rule says whenever the numerator are the same, the biggest denominator is the smallest fraction, and the smallest denominator is the biggest fraction. Okay, so what happens to the third rule? Because I've told you 2 rules now. The first rule, let's say together. Whenever the denominator are the same, the biggest numerator is the biggest fraction, and the smallest numerator is the smallest fraction. That sounds as if we are arranging whole numbers too. Yes, the same way with when you arrange whole numbers. The second rule says what? When the numerators are the same, the biggest denominator is the what? Smallest fraction. And the what? The smallest what? Numerator, the smallest denominator is the biggest fraction. Okay. Now what happens to the third rule? The third rule says if none of the fraction, let me change that. Okay. If none of the fraction, okay, are the same, sorry, if none of the fractions are the same, there you find the LCM. There you find the what? The LCM. 3 out of 7, 2 out of 14, 7 out of 21. What is happening here? Nothing is the same. The numerators are not the same, and then the denominators, they are not the same. I think I should go with 1 right here. Okay. When the numerator and the denominators are not the same, the first thing you need to do is to find the LCM. It's after you found the LCM that you can now pick. That means it's a form of finding the equivalent form of these fractions. So it will help you to get the equivalent fraction whereby all the denominators becomes the same. Now when you have the same denominators for everything now, okay, you can now pick the biggest fraction and the smallest what? Fraction. I take that one more time. When you find the LCM, you are trying to do what? Make the denominators to have the same numbers. It's a form of changing it to equivalent form of the fraction. Okay? And that helps you to arrive at the same denominator. Now when you get the same denominator, what happens? You are able to pick the biggest numerator as the biggest fraction and the smaller numerator as the smallest fraction. Okay, so do you still remember how to find the LCM? Okay, let's do it together. We have 7, we have 14, we have 21. Okay, what are we going to divide with? 2, 7, 7, 21. We have what? 3. Okay, 7, 7, 7, and we have what? 7, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so 2 times 3 is what? 6. 2 times 3 2 times 3 is what? 6. 6 times 7 is what? 42. So the LCM is 42. Now that the LCM is 42, we now need to do what? The second rule says first find the LCM, then divide and multiply. Everybody say that. Let's say together. First find the LCM, then divide and multiply. Let's say the third rule together again. First find the LCM, then divide and multiply. So we start it this way. We say when none of the fraction has the same numerator and denominator, first find the LCM, then divide and multiply. Is it easy? Okay, let's say together. When none of the fractions are the same, first find the LCM, then divide and multiply. Don't say then divide, okay? Then divide and multiply. So we'll be dividing with the denominator and we'll be multiplying with the numerator at the same time. That's why this rule says first find the LCM, then divide and multiply. You don't say then divide, then multiply. No, then divide and multiply. Okay, let's see. You rule your line, okay, like this, and then you go. You write your 42, the LCM, under that line. You see I have space up right here for my answers. Okay, so I just left a line for that. So I say 7 in 72, or let's use divide and multiply, right? So 72 divided by 7, that is 6. 6 times 3. Do you get that? Yes. Okay, we divide, okay, the denominator and then multiply with the numerator. Don't forget the rule when none of the fractions, okay, is the same. What did I say we are going to do? We first find the LCM, then we divide and multiply. Not then we divide, then we multiply. No, then we divide and multiply. Do you get that now? So we got the LCM to be what? 42. So what do we do next? We say what? 72 divided by 7 equals to 6. 6 times 3. 6 times 3 equals to what? 18. Okay, so I think I need to shift it up a little. 3 out of 7, 2 out of 14, and 1 out of 21. Okay, it is okay here. So what I'm saying is, for you to get the division part, you rule your line and write the LCM, which is 42, and then you say what? 72 divided by 7, that is 6. 6 times 3, 18. We have done this part before. Okay, then we go to 42 divided by 14. I said you write what? 14. The answer is 3, but you need the workings. Okay, plus 14, that is 8, and that is 2, and then plus another 14. Okay, that is 2, remainder 1, 12, remainder 1, 2, 1, and then you have 42. That is how many? I said it, 3. Okay, so now that you have 3, you then say what? 3 times what? 3 times 2, 6. Then you go to the next one. 42 divided by 21, that is what? 2. You say 21 plus 21, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 2, 4, that's 42. So you say what? 1, 2, 2. 2 times 1, 2. Okay, don't forget the rule one more time. When none of the fractions are the same, you do what? Divide. When none of the fractions are the same, first you find the LCM. 2, then you divide and multiply. That is, for that third rule, it is in 2 form. First you find the LCM, then you divide and multiply. So what are we doing now? We said 42 divided by 7, that is what? 6. 6 times 3, 18. Then we say 42 divided by 14. Don't forget, we are dividing and multiplying at the same time. 42 divided by 14, that is what? 3. 3 times 2, 6. And then 42 divided by 21, that is 2. 2 times 1, 2. So here we are dividing and multiplying at the same time. Okay, do you get that? So now that we've got the fractions to have the same denominator, we can now pick which fraction is the biggest and which fraction is the smallest, then which fraction is big, which fraction is small. Okay, all right. So if we want to now arrange the fractions in ascending order from the smallest to the biggest, tell me which one will come first. We have the smallest number here, which is what? 2. So we pick what? 1 out of 21, not that 2. Okay, followed by the next number, which is what? 6. That is 2 out of 14. And the biggest is what? 3 out of 7. Look at that, so small, and it happens to be the what? The biggest. You see, I told us fraction is not like every other number. You just need to work them carefully when the denominators and the numerators are not the same. First, you find the LCM, then you what? Divide and multiply. Let's look at another example. We have 1 out of 3. And then 1 out of 8. So looking at this, do they have the same numerator? Yes. Do they have the same denominator? No. So when they have the same numerator, what does the rule say? The rule says what? You wrote it down. Okay, the biggest denominator is the smallest fraction, and the smallest denominator is the biggest fraction. So what do? You face it, the biggest one. Okay, all right, the second example. Okay, we have 7 out of 8, 2 out of 4. Do they have the same numerator or denominator? No. What does the rule say? The rule says what? Find the LCM, then divide and multiply. Okay, I got my own LCM to be 8. So find your own LCM too. Of course, it should be 8. So what does the next rule say? The next rule says what? Divide and multiply. So 8 divided by 8, 1 times 7, 7. Then 8 divided by 4, that's what? 2. 2 times 2, 4. So which one is bigger? Which one is smaller? 7 is bigger than 4. That means 7 out of 8 is bigger than 2 out of 4. Okay. Another example. 5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Okay, what are we going to do right here? Ask yourself, which rule is applicable to this? When the denominator are the same, the biggest numerator is the biggest fraction, and the smallest numerator is the smallest fraction. So which one is bigger? 9 is bigger than 5. You face it. Okay, another example. You have 3 out of 9, 4 out of 3. Here the LCM is what? 9. Work out your own LCM. You find the LCM of the what? The denominators. Please don't forget. You find the LCM of the denominators, and it is what? 9. When you work it out from your own book too. Okay. So 9 divided by 9. After finding the LCM, then you do what? Divide and multiply. Good. 9 divided by 9, 1. 1 times 3, 3. 9 divided by 3, 3. 3 times 4, 12. So which one is bigger? 3 out of 4. You face it. Okay. Another example. We have 7 out of 10, 2 out of 10. When they have the same denominator, which one is bigger, which one is smaller? When they have the same denominator, it means what? 7 out of 10 is bigger than 2 out of 10. Okay. 11 out of 15, 11 out of 50. Okay. So what does this rule say? When they have the same numerator, the biggest denominator becomes the what? The smallest fraction. Okay. And the smallest denominator becomes the what? The biggest fraction. Okay. So 11 out of 15 is greater than 1 out of 50. Than 11 out of 50 rather. Okay. Thank you for listening to every part of this activity. Okay, thank you for solving along with me. Yes, the question won't be this simple. It needs you working it out. Okay, find the LCM and then divide and multiply if none of the fractions are the same, right? If the denominators are the same, the biggest numerator is the biggest fraction and the smallest numerator is the smallest fraction. If the numerators are the same, the biggest one now becomes the smallest when we talk about the denominators, and the smallest denominator is the biggest fraction. That part is the biggest. Please stick this to this rule. And then mathematics time, smart time hour. Then you remain smart forever. Okay? If it is not mathematics, it is no subject. Okay? Have a great day. And don't forget, keep solving your question, because practice makes perfection. Thank you. Bye-bye.